Have you ever wondered if you're truly living or merely existing in a hazy dream? If you want to find the answer, venture into lands that defy all human laws of physics, where boundaries blur, forcing heaven and earth to merge into one. You'll be captivated by the powerful swirling rivers that stretch across the land and overwhelmed by the towering mountain peaks where humanity's faith is etched into every thread of time. And when night falls, the harshness of the ice doesn't retreat, but erupts, tearing through the darkness with a dazzling dance of cosmic light. That's when you'll understand that no screen can replace the bone-chilling cold and the majestic power of reality. The world out there is too vast to be seen only through a screen. Join us, explore, and live each moment to the fullest. Above a roaring waterfall and along ancient cast limestone cliffs sits Furong Town, often called the Hibiscus Ancient Town, a place where natural scenery and human history dramatically intertwine. Located in China's Hunan province, this cliffside village sits directly above a massive waterfall plunging roughly 130 feet into the gorge below. The constant roar of falling water has shaped not only the town's scenery, but its very identity. The surrounding terrain rests on limestone, riddled with caves, which once served as essential shelter and refuge for the Tujia, one of the region's oldest ethnic minorities. Their cultural imprint remains visible in the town's architecture today. Traditional wooden houses, built on stilts, lean against the cliffside, appearing to float precariously above mist and rushing water. Narrow paths and plank walkways along the cliff reflect centuries of human life intertwined naturally with erosion-carved rock. Furong stands as a rare harmony of time, gravity, and the will to survive, a living history etched directly into a cliffside. Chengde was once a secluded summer retreat, where Qing dynasty emperors escaped the heat, and today it holds China's largest imperial garden complex. Spanning over 290 acres within Hebei province's dense forested terrain, this vast royal landscape blends valleys, lakes, plains, palaces, and temples into a single grand panorama. Rather than reshaping nature artificially, its designers chose to harmonize imperial architecture with the existing terrain. One of its most striking structures is the Putuo Zongcheng Temple, inspired by Tibet's iconic Potala Palace. Its towering, layered structure showcases a unique aesthetic blending Han Chinese and Tibetan architectural styles. Chengde's overall spatial design symbolizes a miniature world reflecting the geographic and cultural diversity once held by the Chinese Empire. Here, political authority, religious belief, and natural beauty merge into a single, magnificent panorama. Deep within Guizhou's mist-covered mountains lies Qianhu Miao Village, where natural scenery tradition and architectural culture come together in remarkable harmony. Each year during the Miao New Year Festival, the village comes alive with dazzling color and sound. Women wear elaborate silver headdresses weighing up to 4 or 5 kilograms, paired with hand-woven embroidered garments that take months to complete. As the melodies of the Lusheng reed pipe fill the air, dances passed down through generations unfold, transforming the entire village into a living cultural archive. Visitors here encounter not simply a tourist destination, but the living breath of a culture where myth, faith, and daily life remain inseparable from nature. The Miao people have lived in this region for more than 2,000 years, preserving a culture rooted in animist beliefs, intricate silverwork, and legendary textile embroidery, all of which remain central to community identity today. Surrounded by emerald mountains and crossed by clear streams, this basin terrain has helped protect the village from rapid outside change, playing a crucial role in preserving tradition. Known as the Village of 1,000 Households, this is one of China's largest Miao communities, with more than 1,000 traditional wooden houses layered along the valley slopes in spectacular formation. These stilt houses, called Diao Jiaolu, were built entirely using traditional mortise and tenon joinery without a single nail. This refined construction technique, which has endured for centuries, reflects the remarkable woodworking wisdom of past generations. Along the rugged coastline of Shengshan Island in eastern China lies Hutuwan, once a thriving fishing village, now quietly reclaimed by nature into a green legacy. Abandoned in the early 1990s, this coastal village stands as a globally striking example of nature reclaiming human settlement. At its peak, more than 2,000 residents lived here, sustained by the rich fishing grounds surrounding the archipelago. Once human presence faded, nature gradually reclaimed the area. Ivy moss and wild plants spread across walls, rooftops and stairways, wrapping the village in a dense green veil. Abandoned buildings slowly turned into living structures, creating a landscape where human traces and the ecosystem merge. Today, ecologists and historians study Hotuwan as a rare case of spontaneous ecological urbanization. This silent village is far more than ruins. It reflects a facet of modern China's social transformation while standing as a living record of nature, redrawing its boundaries over human ambition. Guilin and Yangshuo feel like a space where geological history, the passage of time, and human imagination converge. This region holds one of the most iconic karst landscapes on Earth, shaped over more than 200 million years as water slowly dissolved limestone. The result is a dramatic landscape of jagged peaks and vast cave systems resembling a grand natural sculpture. The Li River winds like a silk ribbon through misty valleys and sheer cliffs. This poetic scenery has inspired countless painters and poets for more than 2,000 years. Today, nature and modern technology coexist side by side here. High-speed trains pass alongside ancient peaks, while glass bridges and cliffside roads connect villages once cut off from the outside world. Guilin stands as more than natural heritage. It is a stage that also showcases the progress of human engineering, a symbolic space where ancient and future coexist on a single magnificent horizon. Along the steep cliffs of Gansu province overlooking the winding Yellow River Bingling Temple, grottos emerge from a dramatic landscape. This is a symbolic space where geological time, religious devotion, and ancient craftsmanship intersect. With a history spanning roughly 1,600 years, this secluded cave complex holds nearly 200 caves and more than 600 stone Buddha statues. Some figures exceed 80 feet in height, carved directly into fragile loess and sandstone cliffs. Despite the soft, vulnerable rock these sacred carvings have endured, floods, earthquakes, and centuries of weathering to survive into the present day. The name Bingling means 10,000 Buddhas, signifying both a sanctuary holding countless statues and a spiritual corridor that still echoes with the footsteps of Silk Road pilgrims and travelers who once passed through. Today, this remote cave temple quietly stands watch over the dreamlike stillness, a profound trace shaped by time and faith. Rising more than 10,000 feet above Sichuan's mist-covered skies, amaze ranks among the 4 sacred mountains of Chinese Buddhism. But this mountain's significance extends beyond its deep religious tradition. Behind it lies an immense record of geological history. Roughly 100 million years ago, massive tectonic movement pushed the land upward, shaping today's dramatic terrain. Sheer cliffs, cloud-veiled primeval forests, and deep valleys carved by erosion are all traces left by these powerful internal forces. Imeishan is also a treasure trove of life. Its ecosystem hosts thousands of rare plant and animal species, including the elusive Tibetan macaque. For researchers, this mountain serves as a living natural laboratory for studying complex biodiversity. Its historical and cultural significance runs equally deep. The region is among the earliest places where Buddhism took root in China, dating back to the 1st century AD. Over time, faith and craftsmanship produced more than 70 temples, many perched along ridgelines and cliff edges. The temple at Golden Summit is especially famous for catching the first golden light of dawn above a sea of clouds. Today, visitors reach the summit through a mix of tradition and modern technology. A cable car rises above the forest canopy, while ancient stone stairways, worn by centuries of use, still wind along the cliffs. Shan is more than a mountain peak. It is a symbolic place where geological wonder, spiritual heritage, and humanity's relationship with nature converge. Carved by the powerful currents of the Jinsha River in Yunnan Province, Tiger Leaping Gorge ranks among the deepest canyons on Earth. The vertical drop from the rushing riverbed to the surrounding peaks exceeds 2,700 meters, its overwhelming scale alone inspiring awe. According to legend, a tiger once leapt across the gorge's narrowest point while fleeing a hunter, giving the canyon its name. Yet its true grandeur lies beyond myth, in its geological history. The collision of the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates triggered massive mountain-building forces that lifted towering rock walls skyward while the river below continues carving through bedrock even today. The roaring currents have deepened the gorge over millions of years, splitting massive fractures through the rock layers. The result is a towering vertical world, shaped by tectonic movement, erosion, and nature's raw scale combined, ranked among the most breathtaking canyon landscapes on Earth. Spanning the Yangtze River, the Three Gorges Dam stands as the largest hydroelectric facility ever built by humankind. Stretching more than 1.6 kilometers long and rising over 180 meters high, this colossal structure represents the pinnacle of modern engineering. Built using roughly 28 million cubic meters of concrete, it generates enough power to supply tens of millions of households. Yet its impact extends far beyond electricity production alone. The massive reservoir created by the dam stretches more than 600 kilometers upstream, fundamentally reshaping the surrounding terrain. Countless valleys lie submerged beneath the water, and both coastlines and local ecosystems have undergone long-term transformation. Some scientists have even suggested that this enormous water storage has produced subtle, measurable effects on the Earth's rotation. The Three Gorges Dam stands at the intersection of technical precision and nature's raw power, a massive site where human engineering ambition meets one of the world's greatest rivers. Built across the rugged mountains of Sichuan province, the Yaxi Expressway stands as one of China's most extraordinary civil engineering achievements. Stretching approximately 135 miles, this high-altitude transportation route took nearly a decade to complete. The road passes through mountain terrain exceeding 6,000 feet elevation, supported by more than 400 bridges and over 20 tunnels, many bored directly through massive mountain bodies. One of its most striking features is the Dadu River Bridge, rising about 2,000 feet above the valley floor, making it one of the highest bridges in the world. This expressway was engineered to withstand landslides, earthquakes, heavy snowfall, and extreme climate variations caused by high elevation, standing as a symbol of next-generation disaster-resistant infrastructure designed to adapt to harsh terrain. More than simply a road, the Yaxi Expressway functions as a lifeline connecting Chengdu to the edges of the Tibetan Plateau and opening a new gateway to remote alpine regions once isolated above the clouds. Hidden deep within Tibet's mountainous terrain, Achen Hot Springs represents one of the most remarkable geothermal phenomena where the Earth's internal heat energy erupts to the surface. The spring water here boils at temperatures above 180 degrees Fahrenheit, rich in dissolved minerals such as sulfur and lithium. These springs emerge along an active tectonic rift created by the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates. The surrounding landscape shows clear signs of intense geological activity, with steam vents and mineral deposits coloring the terrain in vivid hues and textures. For scientists, Achen Hot Springs functions as a living research site. Analyzing the water's chemical composition and rising steam helps reveal the mechanisms of geothermal energy operating beneath the Earth's crust. Local legend offers another perspective on this mysterious landscape, comparing the rising steam to the breath of an invisible dragon, passed down with reverence and awe. From a geological standpoint, however, these springs remain a rare living window into the Earth's internal heat and dynamism. Hidden deep within the remote Qaidam Basin of northwestern China, Mangya Emerald Lake evokes an almost alien landscape in both form and color. Set above 9,000 feet elevation, this mysterious cluster of saline lakes formed through a combination of tectonic activity, ancient volcanic traces, and prolonged evaporation in an extremely arid alpine desert environment. The result is a mosaic of fluorescent green and turquoise salt lakes. This site's scientific value is especially evident in its mineral diversity. Different saline pools contain varying concentrations of lithium, magnesium, potassium, and rock salt, creating a vivid, distinctive color spectrum visible even from orbit. Researchers consider this region a key natural laboratory for studying the evolution of salt lakes and underground mineral cycles. Once part of a massive ancient inland sea, this basin today draws attention as a crucial source of rare earth elements, materials essential to battery and advanced electronics industries. Where geological dynamism meets surreal scenery, Emerald Lake stands as a unique space combining natural spectacle with scientific significance. There are mountains that not only reach towards the sky, but also inspire awe and reverence in those who gaze upon them. Have you ever wondered where the distance between the earth and the sky is most fragile? Mount Gongga, located in western Sichuan province, stands majestically at 7,556 meters, the highest peak outside the Himalayas and known as the King of the Mountains of Shu. This colossal mountain range was uplifted over tens of millions of years by the collision of the Indian and Eurasian tectonic plates, creating more than 70 large and small glaciers covering its slopes. The difference in elevation from the base to the summit exceeds 6,000 meters, equivalent to the height of nearly 20 Burj Khalifa towers stacked on top of each other. When the first rays of dawn touch the summit of Gonga, the white snow glows like a giant torch burning against the sky. Seas of clouds swirl around the mountain slopes, making the icy mass of rock look like an island floating in a vast white ocean, where the boundary between earth and sky seems to vanish. Tibetans revere Gonga as a sacred mountain, where gods reside and maintain the balance of nature. They believe that the sudden cloud cover of the peak is not due to the weather, but rather a veil cast by the gods to protect the sacred land from disrespectful gazes. Today, climbers and tourists traverse primeval forests, glacial lakes, and high plateau grasslands in search of a rare moment when the summit of Gonga is fully revealed. Amidst the vastness of the altitude and the wind echoing through ancient glaciers, each breath reminds us that nature is always greater than any ambition. And as the last rays of sunset leave the snow-capped peak, is Gonga sinking into night? Or is it silently concealing a world yet untouched by humankind? The story of Mount Gonga begins tens of millions of years ago, when the Indian tectonic plate collided with the Eurasian plate, lifting ancient rock from the ocean floor to form the colossal mountain ranges of the Qinghai Tibet Plateau. Through millions of years of glaciation, earthquakes, and relentless weathering, the summit of Gonga gradually rose to 7,556 meters, becoming the highest mountain in Sichuan province and one of the most rugged in Asia. More than 70 glaciers formed around the mountain's slopes, continuing to erode the rock, creating glacial lakes, U-shaped valleys, and sheer cliffs that still exist today. For the Tibetan people, Gonga is not only a geological wonder, but also a sacred mountain that has been intertwined with their spiritual lives for centuries, where nature and faith blend into an enduring symbol against the backdrop of Western Sichuan. The journey to Gonga Mountain is not just a sightseeing trip, but also a test of one's health and adaptability. Most of the viewpoints are located at altitudes between 3,000 and over 4,500 meters, so visitors should allow at least 1 to 2 days for their bodies to acclimatize to the thin air before trekking or ascending to higher altitudes. Temperatures on the mountain can drop below 0 degrees Celsius even in summer, while the weather changes very quickly within hours, so thermal clothing, windproof and waterproof jackets, non-slip hiking boots, UV protective sunglasses, and sunscreen are essential. If you experience signs of altitude sickness, such as severe headaches, nausea, or difficulty breathing, stop climbing immediately and descend to a lower area. Furthermore, the Tibetan people consider Ganga a sacred mountain, so respecting local rituals, not littering, and not trespassing on restricted areas will make the trip more meaningful and safer. On the snow-capped Ganga mountain, the weather never stays still long enough for people to adapt. In just a few hours, the blue sky can give way to dark clouds, falling snow, and icy winds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour, transforming the entire mountain into a completely different world. Temperatures on the high slopes often drop below -20 degrees Celsius in winter, while even in the middle of summer, frost blankets glaciers and mountain peaks. The air, at an altitude of over 7,500 meters, contains only about half the oxygen of sea level, making every step a test of endurance and willpower. This harshness has led many mountaineers to call Ganga one of the most dangerous peaks in the world, where nature never gives way, and only those who respect its power have the chance to experience those rare moments at the summit. Leaving behind the snow-capped peaks and sea of clouds of Ganga, our journey doesn't end there. China still holds countless wonders, each region carrying a completely different story of nature, history, and people. And now, let's continue our journey to discover the next destination, where a new chapter of our adventure is unfolding. Wuzhen is located in the Yangtze River Delta, where a network of canals has been formed and built up over thousands of years by alluvial deposits and gentle currents. The town has a history of over 1,300 years, with dozens of ancient stone bridges spanning nearly 60 kilometers of canals, interwoven like the lifeblood of each house. The calm water reflects the wooden houses with black tiled roofs, creating a scene as if time has stood still for centuries. As the morning mist descends, wooden boats glide gently on the canals like brushstrokes in a watercolor painting. The golden lanterns cast their light on the water, making the entire town resemble a slow-flowing Milky Way, where each bridge is a star connecting the past with the present. Local people say that Wuzhen's stone bridges not only connect the two banks of the canals, but also link encounters ordained by fate. They believed that if two people walked across an ancient bridge together in the early spring drizzle, the memory of that moment would stay with them for a lifetime. Today, tourists sit on hand-rowed boats, navigating through the narrow canals, enjoying tea, admiring the ancient houses, and listening to the gentle sound of oars touching the water. As the old town lights up, the slow pace of life makes each step feel like a journey back to an era where the sound of water remains the most familiar. And as the last boat disappears behind the moss-covered stone bridge, is Wuzhen gradually sinking into the night, or is it gently opening a door to a memory that has never belonged to time? The cuisine in Wuzhen also follows a slow pace, much like the canals that flow through the ancient town. Pots of dongpo pork simmering over charcoal, steamed white fish freshly caught from the river, duck in soy sauce, and fragrant sticky rice cakes made with freshly harvested rice create flavors that have been preserved for generations. As the canal-side eateries light up, the aroma of fermented soy sauce, green tea, and steaming hot dishes permeates the air, transforming the entire street into a giant kitchen, telling the story of Jiangnan through taste rather than words. As night falls, Wuzhen takes on a completely different appearance. Thousands of red lanterns light up the canals, reflecting on the still water like slow-moving Milky Ways beneath the travelers' feet. Stone bridges, black tiled roofs, and ancient wooden houses are bathed in soft golden light, while the gentle sound of oars stirring the water creates the only sound in the tranquil space. At that moment, the town no longer resembles a tourist destination, but rather an ancient dream that continues to exist in the modern century. Fenghuang ancient town, situated along the Tuojiang River, is nestled among the mountains of western Hunan province and boasts a history spanning over 1,300 years. The town developed on land formed by the river system and valleys where nature patiently created a land embraced by mountains and nurtured by water. Over 200 ancient wooden houses built on stilts along the riverbank stand side by side, seemingly suspended above the water for centuries, never leaving their original positions. As dawn blankets the Tuojiang River in mist, the grey roofs gradually emerge from the thin veil of smoke, resembling a watercolor painting. At night, thousands of lanterns reflect on the river's surface, transforming the ancient town into a silent Milky Way flowing through the valley, each wave carrying a fragment of past memories. The Miao and Tujia people believe that a phoenix once descended to this land, saw the mountains and rivers blending together, and decided to stay forever. Thus, the town bears the name of this sacred bird. Many still believe that the sounds of oars echoing on the river during foggy nights are not only the voices of the boatmen, but also the echoes of the spirits that have lived here for centuries. Today, visitors stroll along the ancient cobblestone streets, take boat trips down the Dajiang River, and quietly admire the stone bridges connecting the two banks of the ancient town. The sounds of traditional music, the aroma of hot tea, and the lanterns reflecting on the water make each moment feel like stepping into an unfinished book. And as the last lantern slowly drifts away into the night, is Fenghuang ancient town falling asleep? Or is it simply continuing to tell a story that the Dajiang River has preserved for over 1,000 years? The history of Fenghuang ancient town dates back to the Tang dynasty, but it wasn't until the early Ming dynasty, around 1556, that it was planned as a military town to protect the southwestern border of China. Stone city walls, gates, watchtowers, and rows of wooden houses along the river were built by the Han, Miao, and Tujia people, creating a community of diverse cultures. Thanks to its location on a vital waterway, Fenghuang quickly became a center for the silk, tea, medicinal herbs, and handicrafts trade in Hunan province. For over 600 years, despite wars, floods, and the passage of time, the stone bridges, cobblestone streets, and stilt houses reflected in the Tuojiang River have been preserved almost intact. This resilience has transformed Fenghuang ancient town into a living museum, where every stone and every roof tile continues to tell the story of a town that has never lost its memory. As the sun sets behind the mountains, Fenghuang ancient town awakens to a completely different rhythm of life. Thousands of red lanterns simultaneously illuminate both banks of the Da River, reflecting on the water's surface, sparkling like streaks of stars, drifting slowly along the river. The sounds of ancient musical instruments and folk songs of the Miao and Tujia people blend with the laughter and chatter from tea houses, restaurants, and the night market, creating a vibrant yet poetic atmosphere. Wooden boats glide under stone bridges, carrying tourists to admire the ancient town ablaze in warm golden light. The aroma of grilled meat, rice cakes, flower tea, and local dishes permeates the cobblestone streets, making each step a journey of discovery for the senses: sight, hearing, and taste. Amidst the bustling crowds and shimmering lights, Fenghuang ancient town not only revives memories of the past, but also continues its story through its vibrant nightlife. Nestled amidst the verdant mountains and streams of Guangxi, the Fengyu Chengyang Bridge was completed in 1916 by the Dong ethnic people without using a single iron nail. The bridge, approximately 64 meters long, comprises 5 towers, 4 pavilions, and numerous wooden walkways connected by traditional mortise and tenon joints. resembling a giant machine assembled from thousands of precisely crafted pieces of wood. Surrounding the bridge are terraced rice paddies, bamboo forests, and the crystal-clear stream that has nourished this land for centuries. From afar, the gently curved wooden bridge resembles a dragon, resting between two mountain slopes. As the morning mist blankets the water, the multi-tiered pavilions gradually emerge like wooden boats silently drifting amidst a sea of clouds, creating a scene both real and yet straight out of an ancient legend. The Dong people believe that the pavilions on the bridge not only provide shelter from rain and wind, but also serve as resting places for mountain and river gods to protect their village from natural disasters. Therefore, whenever the bridge is built or renovated, they hold traditional ceremonies to pray for peace and a bountiful harvest. Today, visitors leisurely stroll on the wooden planks, polished smooth by the years, listening to the stream flowing beneath the bridge and the melodious singing of the Dong people echoing through the mountains. Each step feels like walking through a living museum where architecture, nature, and community life blend into a unified whole. And as the twilight falls upon the ancient communal houses, does the bridge merely connect the two banks of the stream, or has it silently linked the past with the present through generations of people who cross it? Surrounding Phong Vu, Trin Duong Bridge are ancient villages of the Dong people, where multi-story wooden houses nestle on the mountainside, casting their shadows onto lush green terraced rice fields. Built entirely of fir wood and joined using traditional mortise and tenon techniques without iron nails, each house embodies construction experience passed down through generations. In the morning, thin wisps of smoke rise from the grey tiled roofs, the sounds of rice pounding, weaving, and children calling out to each other echo throughout the village, creating peaceful rhythm of life amidst the mountains and forests. The Dong people still preserve the traditional crafts of brocade weaving, indigo dyeing, wood carving, and polyphonic singing, passed down for hundreds of years. The drum tower and bell tower, located in the center of each village, are not only characteristic architectural structures, but also places where people gather to discuss community affairs, organize festivals, and pass on their culture to the younger generation. Here, every house, every cobblestone street, and every folk melody contributes to telling the story of a community that is still preserving its identity amidst the relentless flow of time. The cuisine of the Dong people is as rustic as the wooden houses that have stood for generations. Fragrant glutinous rice from terraced fields is steamed in wooden pots, river fish is grilled over charcoal, smoked meat is hung in the kitchen for months, and chicken stewed with mountain herbs creates the rich flavors of the Guangxi highlands. Alongside these are homemade glutinous rice wine, traditional oil tea, and seasonal wild vegetables harvested by the locals from the mountain slopes surrounding the village. During festivals, long feasts are laid out along the bridge and village square, where the elderly, children, and tourists gather to enjoy the meal amidst the echoing sounds of Dong folk songs in the mountains. Here, each dish not only nourishes the people, but also preserves the memories of a community that has been intertwined with the mountains, forests, and streams for hundreds of years. The ancient town of Sanhe is located south of Hefei City in Anhui Province, where the Fengluo, Hangfu, and Xiaonan rivers converge before continuing their journey across the vast plains. For over 2,500 years, the alluvial soil and water have nourished this land, transforming Sanhe into a bustling port on the Eastern China waterway trade network. Ancient stone bridges, small canals, and cobblestone streets retain their original form, like the lifeblood that has sustained the town for centuries. From above, Sanhe resembles an ancient chessboard drawn with water and stone. The grey tiled roofs are reflected in the calm canals, while the wooden boats glide silently by, creating the impression of brushstrokes moving across a traditional ink painting. Local legend says that the confluence of the three rivers is a place where spiritual energy converges, bringing peace and prosperity to generations. On misty mornings, they believe the water's surface reflects not only the town's silhouette, but also the memories of the merchants who traveled back and forth hundreds of years ago. Today, visitors stroll through ancient stone alleys, walk across centuries-old bridges, and ride on wooden boats along the canals to the rhythmic sound of oars. The slow pace of life, the aroma of freshly brewed tea, and the distant ringing of temple bells transport each moment to an era when water was the most important means of transportation. And as the last boats of the day disappear behind the moss-covered stone bridges, is Tamha ancient town sinking into the night, or does it silently drift along with the flow of time, never leaving its past? Our journey of discovery comes to an end here. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this adventure through natural wonders, magnificent structures, and lands steeped in history, spanning hundreds, even thousands of years. We hope each destination not only offered breathtaking scenery, but also allowed you to gain a deeper understanding of the culture, people, and stories behind every stone, river, and mountain. If you enjoyed journeys like this, please continue to follow us in future episodes, where many more wondrous lands await discovery. Thank you for watching until the very end. We wish you good health, peace, and many opportunities to visit your dream destinations. Goodbye, and see you on our next adventure. When the first light of dawn touches the earth, the world awakens. Where high peaks are not merely the limits of the sky, but the keepers of masterpieces carved into the fabric of time. Behold the marvel of human hands, hanging temples suspended on thousand-year-old. Leaving the clamor of the world behind, we drift along still waters into the heart of an ancient cave. Confronted by this grandeur, the soul suddenly finds itself weightless. To travel is to find oneself. Join us as we embark on a journey to legendary lands where time stands still and stillness reigns supreme. Clinging precariously to a vertical cliff face in Zhejiang Province, Dashian Hanging Temple is one of China's lesser-known architectural marvels. Built more than 1,000 years ago, during the Tang dynasty, this temple appears to defy gravity, suspended on the rock face more than 100 feet above the ground. Constructed entirely through wooden joinery, without a single nail, the temple relies on an ancient anchoring technique in which wooden beams are wedged deep into natural cracks in the cliff. This structure has held firm through centuries of strong winds, humidity, and subtle shifts in the rock itself. Standing on its suspended corridors, visitors are met with a panoramic view of mist-shrouded mountains and sacred peaks, a landscape that feels remote yet deeply spiritual. Blending Taoist and Buddhist architectural styles, this site is more than a place of worship. It stands as a symbolic achievement combining ancient engineering, rugged terrain, and humanity's will to harmonize with nature. Carved into limestone cliffs along the Yi River in Henan Province, the Longmen Grottos rank among China's most important archaeological treasures. Stretching more than 800 meters along the cliff face, this massive complex contains over 100,000 Buddha statues, ranging from towering figures exceeding 50 feet tall to delicate carvings no bigger than a palm. These sculptures were created between the 5th and 9th centuries, capturing the height of Chinese artistry, Buddhist devotion, and imperial authority. The remarkable precision of the carving techniques reveals just how advanced stone craftsmanship and structural design had become during that era. Hidden niches, celestial figures, and delicate inscriptions are woven throughout the cliffs, creating a grand convergence of spirituality, history, and human craftsmanship. Deep within Guizhou's karst mountains lies one of China's most mysterious geological landscapes, the Anlong Pyramids. Shaped by millions of years of natural processes, these pyramid-like peaks bear an uncanny resemblance to artificial structures, sparking endless debate among scientists, explorers, and theorists alike. Rising more than 1,000 feet into the sky, these peaks display a remarkably symmetrical silhouette, raising questions about whether natural erosion and tectonic movement alone could have produced such precise form. Are these the pure product of geological processes, or do they echo traces of something long vanished? Here the line between geology and legend blurs, and the Anlong pyramids remain one of the most captivating natural mysteries hidden within China's landscape. Located in Guizhou Province, China, Pingshan Grand Canyon is a hidden geological wonder carved jointly by water and time. Crystal clear river water flows like glass between massive cliffs, creating the illusion that boats are floating in mid-air. This vast sandstone landscape dates back more than 200 million years, revealing layers of the Earth's ancient geological history. Stretching for miles, the canyon features rare karst formations, underground waterways, and vertical cliffs rising more than 1,000 feet. Largely untouched by human hands, this surreal space combines scientific wonder, overwhelming scale, and raw natural beauty, feeling like a work of art that defies gravity itself. Deep within the mountainous heart of Zhejiang Province lies Shenjianju's scenic area, meaning where immortals dwell, one of China's most surreal natural landscapes. Roughly 120 million years ago, volcanic activity, tectonic uplift, and prolonged erosion combined to shape this dramatic terrain. The result is a maze of massive stone pillars rising more than 2,000 feet above forested valleys, resembling natural skyscrapers emerging from a sea of mist. This region is especially known for its rare Danxia landform. Red sandstone cliffs and ridges sculpted by wind and water create both an overwhelming spectacle and important clues for studying ancient continental shift and tectonic evolution. High above this rugged terrain, at roughly 1,000 feet elevation, a glass skywalk hangs suspended in mid-air. Standing here, visitors experience the sensation of walking among the clouds, a dramatic fusion of modern engineering and primal geological landscape. At Shenzhenju, myth and science coexist. This is a place where ancient geological time meets the imagery of legend, all within a single landscape. Deep within the rugged Taihang Mountains of central China lies a road that seems almost impossible for human hands to have built: the Guoliang Tunnel. Carved directly through a near-vertical cliff face, this narrow passage was completed by just 13 village residents armed with nothing more than hammers and steel chisels. To connect their isolated mountaintop village to the outside world, they spent 5 grueling years battling solid rock and dizzying heights. It was less a construction project than a fight for survival. The finished tunnel stretches roughly 1.2 kilometers, standing about 5 meters tall and 4 meters wide, all completed without any modern equipment. Today, the road clings to the sheer cliff face with more than 30 window-like openings, revealing a drop of hundreds of meters below. Guoliang Tunnel is far more than a passage through a mountain. It stands as a symbol of human determination to overcome isolation and a testament to perseverance against the harshest of environments, remaining one of the boldest cliffside roads in the world. Located in the heart of China's Hunan province, Gaoyiling is renowned for its extraordinary terrain, shaped by time, wind, and water. This site belongs to the Danxia landform family, best represented by China's Mount Danxia, where red sandstone ridges form knife-edged peaks alongside flowing wave-like curves, creating a surreal landscape. Roughly 70 million years ago, this region lay beneath an ancient sea. Tectonic uplift later pushed these sediment layers to the surface, and millions of years of erosion completed the otherworldly terrain seen today, often compared to the surface of Mars. Its steep slopes and razor-thin ridges continue to draw adventurous hikers and drone photographers seeking equally surreal footage. Above the dramatic karst cliffs of Wulong Chongqing, a spectacle defies gravity and imagination alike. Known as the Flying Kiss, this striking dual platform structure debuted in 2020, featuring massive figures of a man and woman, each mounted on giant mechanical arms. The two figures rise slowly, extending across the deep canyon toward each other, completing a symbolic kiss suspended in midair. Set more than 1,000 feet above the ground, this landmark offers sweeping views of Wulong's UNESCO-listed karst landscape, where millions of years have shaped stone pillars, sinkholes, and natural bridges into a scene that feels more surreal than real. Combining cutting-edge engineering with romantic legend, the Flying Kiss is more than an attraction. It is a grand performance where love architecture and natural landscape intersect in midair, a sky-born spectacle suspended above one of China's most original terrains. China's Duge Bridge stands as the highest bridge on Earth. Suspended thousands of feet above the Beipan River, this engineering marvel connects the rugged mountain terrain of Guizhou and Yunnan provinces. Opened in 2016, the bridge stretches more than 4,400 feet across a deep gorge, dramatically reducing travel time through terrain that was once nearly impossible to cross. Completed in just 3 years, Duge Bridge stands as a symbol of advanced engineering, precise design, and bold ambition. Suspended roughly 1,850 feet above the river's surface, it transforms what was once a treacherous mountain, crossing into a smooth journey that feels like gliding through the sky. Welcome to Chongqing, China, a sprawling mountain metropolis that seems to defy gravity itself, where architecture and urban design bend the rules of reality. Built across steep hills, intersected by massive rivers, this city holds one of the world's most remarkable feats of engineering, an actual subway line that runs directly through a residential high-rise. Since the early 2000s, Chongqing Rail Transit Line 2 has been designed to pass through the 6th to 8th floors of an apartment building with rail and residential space precisely integrated to minimize disruption to daily life in Home to more than 30 million people, this megacity has developed an inventive vertical urban structure to adapt to its extreme terrain. Here, vertical space isn't optional, it's essential. Skyscrapers rise straight from mountain slopes, and highways wind along cliff faces like ribbons. Elevators connect not just floors within a building, but entire districts and streets themselves. In Chongqing, terrain isn't an obstacle to overcome. It's the very foundation upon which futuristic urban design is built. Set along the Yellow River, Huku Waterfall is the river's second largest waterfall and the only waterfall in the world known for its distinctly yellow-colored water. The Yellow River's massive flow surges through a gorge barely 30 meters wide before suddenly plunging downward, producing a dramatic spray that resembles tea pouring from a giant kettle spout. The name Huku, meaning kettle spout, reflects both the waterfall's distinctive shape and the thunderous power of its falling water. Amid jagged cliffs and constantly shifting sediment, this site reveals the raw, untamed power of China's landscape. Legend and geological energy collide here together, forming the spectacle known as Huku Waterfall. Along the coast of Pingtan Island in southeastern China, a mysterious natural phenomenon known as the Blue Tears comes alive. This glowing spectacle is created by bioluminescent plankton called Noctiluca scintillans. Even the smallest disturbance, a passing wave, a current footsteps along the shore, triggers these microorganisms to release an electric neon blue glow. On warm summer nights, the entire coastline seems to burn with blue light, transforming the ocean into something resembling a flowing galaxy of stars. Every ripple spreads the glow, further blurring the line between reality and illusion. But this blue luminescence is more than a visual wonder. It is a rare convergence of marine biology, ocean chemistry, and coastal geography, a moment that science can explain, yet still feels like magic. In northeastern China, Panjin Red Beach is nothing like the sandy shores most people imagine. This is a surreal coastal wetland, painted red by nature, transforming into a vivid crimson landscape each autumn. Spanning roughly 30 square miles, this striking scenery is created by a rare salt-tolerant plant called Suaeda salsa. This intense color comes not from flowers, but from vegetation itself. Capable of thriving in highly saline alkaline soil, this plant represents a remarkable adaptation unique to coastal ecosystems. The region is also home to one of the world's largest reed wetlands, serving as a critical migratory habitat for cranes and various rare waterfowl. Panjin Red Beach is a living natural spectacle where biology, geography, and seasonal change converge, a place where science and color intersect to create one of the most surreal landscapes on Earth. There are gates that not only mark the boundaries of a land, but also divide it between security and the unknown. Have you ever wondered what the very edge of an empire would look like? Located between the Gobi Desert and the Shilian Mountains, Jiayuguan, built in 1372 during the Ming Dynasty, stands at the westernmost point of the Great Wall. The fortress sits at an altitude of over 1,700 meters above sea level, where cold winds and sandstorms have eroded every brick for over 650 years. On either side are towering mountains and vast stretches of sand, transforming this pass into a giant lock, protecting the only route connecting the Central Plains with the western regions. From afar, the yellow earthen walls stand out against the desert like a stone ship anchored before an endless ocean of sand. As dusk falls, the shadows of the watchtowers stretch across the barren land, resembling giant spears still pointing toward the horizon after centuries. The ancients called Jiayuguan the last and most magnificent pass under heaven, believing that anyone who passed through this gate was leaving the familiar world behind to enter a land of the unpredictable. Legend says that every brick of the pass was calculated with such precision that only one brick remained after its completion. Today, visitors ascend the ancient ramparts, listening to the wind whistling through the loopholes and gazing out at the Silk Road, once trodden by merchants, envoys, and expeditionary armies. Amidst the vast expanse of mountains and desert, each step evokes the feeling of walking between the boundaries of history and legend. And as the stone gate gradually disappears behind the swirling sand, will Jiayuguan mark the end of the Great Wall's journey? Or will it silently await travelers on a path that never ends? The history of Jiayuguan began in 1372, when the Ming dynasty decided to build a fortified stronghold at the westernmost point of the Great Wall to protect the border and control the Silk Road. For decades, thousands of soldiers, craftsmen and laborers transported rammed earth, fired bricks and stone from nearby mountains to construct a robust system of ramparts, watchtowers, and gates in the arid land. From here, all merchant caravans traveling between central China and the western regions had to stop for inspection before continuing their journeys of thousands of kilometers. More than a military base, Jiayuguan became a symbol of the last gateway to Chinese civilization, where caravans carrying silk, tea, and spices met Western cultures. Over 650 years have passed, and the pass still stands amidst the wind and sand as a silent witness, remembering every step that has crossed this historical boundary. More than 6 centuries have passed, and the caravans that once carried silk, tea, and spices no longer appear on the old road. But Jiayuguan Pass still stands silently amidst the wind and sand like the last sentinel of a bygone era. The earthen walls have faded under the sun and wind, yet remain steadfast against the ever-changing desert and the winds that have swept countless footprints into oblivion. Each brick here not only marks a military structure, but also preserves farewells, encounters, and journeys that have connected east and west for centuries. As the sun sets behind the Kilian Mountains, the entire pass is bathed in a tranquil golden hue, as if time itself slows down at the threshold of history. And as darkness envelops the ancient road, does that gate close to the past, or does it silently await the echoes of horse hooves from the realm of memory? On the edge of the Gobi Desert, the Mogao Caves were opened in 366 AD on sandstone cliffs along the Danghe River. Over 1,600 years later, this complex has formed 735 caves, like hundreds of openings carved into the cliff face to hold the light of many eras. Spanning over 45,000 square meters, the murals and thousands of clay Buddha statues with their layers of mineral pigments have endured the arid desert climate. Entering the caves, the murals covering the ceilings and walls resemble a sky opening up underground. Light filtering through the cave entrances touches the statues, making their faces seem to be silently awakening after centuries of silence. According to legend, the monk Lezong saw thousands of golden rays of light on the cliff face and believed it to be a sign of the Buddha realm, thus deciding to excavate the first cave. Many locals still believe that each statue here holds a vow that has never faded with time. Today, visitors walk through the ancient stone corridors, observing each brushstroke that has existed for over 1,000 years and listening to the story of the Silk Road that brought art, beliefs, and culture from many civilizations together in this place. Each cave is like a giant chapter where history is not written on paper, but in color, clay, and light. And as the last cave door slowly closes behind them, will the statues remain silently watching over humanity, or are they waiting for someone to complete the unfinished story from over 1,000 years ago? Tiger Leaping Gorge was formed over millions of years as the Jinsha River relentlessly eroded the ancient rock layers between the Jade Dragon Snow Mountain and the Harbor Snow Mountain. The gorge is approximately 16 kilometers long and nearly 3,900 meters deep, equivalent to the height of more than 13 Burj Khalifa towers stacked on top of each other. The rushing water rushes over the massive rock formations at a furious speed, creating one of the deepest and most treacherous gorges in the world. Looking down from the cliffs, the swirling river resembles an angry silver dragon seeking its way out of the earth. The sheer cliffs embracing the water are like two giant swords, while the white mist rising from the rapids makes the entire gorge seem to breathe with the very rhythm of nature. According to Naxi legend, a hunting tiger leaped across the narrowest part of the river with a single jump to escape its hunter, and this story gave the gorge its name, Tiger Leaping. Locals also believe that the roaring sound of water between the cliffs is an endless conversation between the spirits of the mountains and the river. Today, visitors follow the treacherous trails clinging to the mountainside, climbing thousands of stone steps and crossing wooden bridges suspended over the abyss. Each bend reveals a completely different perspective, where the wind, the water, and the traveler's own heartbeat merge into a powerful symphony. And as the sun sets behind the peak of Jade Dragon Snow Mountain, will the river continue to erode the cliffs, or will it silently write a story that only time can fully read? Located on a plateau at an altitude of approximately 3,000 meters in Gansu province, Labrang Monastery was built in 1709 and became one of the 6 largest Tibetan Buddhist centers. Surrounding the monastery are vast grasslands and snow-capped mountains stretching to the horizon, where the thin air and highland winds have shaped the landscape for millions of years. A pilgrimage corridor over 3 kilometers long encircles the entire complex like an endless circle, connecting people to their faith. From above, the bright golden roofs stand out against the white walls, creating an island of light amidst the sea of grass and clouds. When thousands of prayer flags flutter in the wind, the entire monastery looks like a silently burning flame in the vast plateau. Tibetans believe that each turn of the prayer wheel carries blessings of peace to all corners of the world. Legend also says that the chanting at dawn is not only heard by people, but also preserved by the sacred mountains for centuries. Every day, devotees walk the entire pilgrimage route around the monastery, turning prayer wheels and softly reciting ancient scriptures passed down through generations. Visitors blend into this silent stream, feeling the scent of incense, the long trumpet sounds, and the slow pace of life, making time seem to stop ticking. And as the sun sets behind the snow-capped peaks, do the prayers simply fade into the wind, or continue their journey to a place unseen by mankind? The Wanfeng Forest Scenic Area, located in Xingyi, Guizhou Province, is formed from ancient limestone layers over 200 million years old, shaped by geological processes and weathering. Spanning over 2,000 square kilometers, tens of thousands of limestone peaks rise continuously, stretching to the horizon like waves frozen by time. Rivers and rice paddies meander through the valleys, creating a landscape that nature took millions of centuries to perfect. From the mountaintops, countless green-covered peaks appear as a giant army silently advancing towards the horizon. When early morning clouds drift over the valleys, each peak emerges from the sea of mist, making the entire rocky forest look like islands floating in an ocean of white clouds. The Bui and Miao people believe that each peak is the embodiment of a deity protecting the land from natural disasters. At misty dawns, they believed that the bird song echoing through the mountain valleys was the greeting of the spirits that had guarded this place since the dawn of time. Today, tourists cycle along winding roads through the fields, climb observation decks, and watch the sun gradually paint the endless sea of Rocky Mountains golden. Each bend reveals a completely different scene, where mountains, clouds, and villages blend together like a never-ending painting. And as the last mist of the day gradually envelops the valleys, are those tens of thousands of mountain peaks merely falling asleep? Or are they silently waiting for the moment to continue the story that began hundreds of millions of years ago? Today's journey of discovery comes to an end here, but the world still holds countless lands waiting for us to explore. Thank you for taking the time to join us and listen to the stories written by nature, history, and people over hundreds, even thousands of years. Your support and viewership are the motivation for us to continue bringing you new journeys with more unique perspectives on wonders around the world. Thank you for watching the entire video. We wish you safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode with a surprising destination waiting ahead. Above China's mist-covered skies, mountain peaks rise in forms that exceed the reach of human imagination. The landscapes here are so immense, so removed from the ordinary, that early explorers believed these were places where different worlds pressed against each other. Travelers who come today encounter the same ore cliffs that seem to refuse gravity, glaciers burning with crystalline light, and narrow paths carved into near-vertical rock faces that defy every expectation of what is possible. On this journey through China's most majestic mountain ranges, we will enter landscapes shaped by overwhelming scale, unsolved mysteries, and the wild, untamed power of nature at its most pristine peaks. These places have captivated the world's gaze for centuries, and there is no sign that this allure will diminish. When mist moves like water over a mountain's edge, the distinction between weather and landscape dissolves entirely. Jiuhua Mountain is one of China's 4 great Buddhist sacred peaks, rising above the hill country of Anhui Province in a granite massif shaped over more than 100 million years of tectonic uplift and unbroken erosion. Vertical cliffs, rounded rock faces, and knife-narrow mountain paths, the product of geological forces operating on timescales beyond comprehension. The granite of Jiuhua is exceptionally hard, rich in quartz and feldspar, but fractured along precise vertical lines, a natural structure that allowed ancient builders to position temples in locations that appear to defy the logic of gravity entirely. Some halls rest on platforms only a few meters wide. Others are anchored to rock terraces weighing hundreds of tons. The most celebrated temples are situated nearly 3,000 feet above the valley floor, their golden roof tiles reflecting a sky that changes by the hour. But Jiuhua's most extraordinary spectacle belongs to the atmosphere itself. When warm valley air rises and meets the cold temperatures of the upper elevations, dense cloud builds along the ridgeline and begins to pour over the edge in a continuous stream, a phenomenon the mountain's visitors call the cloud waterfall. Under the right conditions, this flow of mist continues for 10 minutes or more, giving the appearance of the sky itself cascading over the mountain's rim. Visitors climb along thousands of ancient stone steps, some worn smooth by more than 1,000 years of pilgrimage. Forest paths, cliffside passages, and temples appearing suddenly from within the mist alternate as the ascent continues. At Jiuhua Mountain, geology, architecture, and the movement of the atmosphere produce a combination found almost nowhere else on Earth. And on mornings, when the cloud waterfall flows, the mountain becomes something that exceeds every category available to describe it. 60 million years of rain, wind, and tectonic force had one objective here: to make red rock into something unforgettable. Yangtze Mountain in southern China is a geological masterwork of compressed time. Its blazing scarlet cliffs and massive stone columns, formed as iron-rich sandstone layers, were compressed, uplifted, and then slowly sculpted by natural erosion into shapes that challenge the assumption that this is what the natural world produces. Some ridgelines rise vertically for more than 1,000 feet, splitting into sharp crests, natural arches and isolated pillars that read less like eroded rock and more like deliberate construction. Scientists classify this as Yangtze landform, an occurrence rare enough globally that only a handful of locations on Earth qualify. The strata exposed in the cliff faces layer crimson gold and deep rust in sequences that function as a record of ancient climate change inscribed in stone across tens of millions of years. After tens of millions of years of natural sculpting, the cliffs of Yangtze have been worked into forms that exceed ordinary expectation: blade-sharp ridgelines, smooth domed masses, towers that appear to balance against gravity, and rock structures whose equilibrium seems permanent only because the forces that produce them have not yet finished. "2,000 years of those seeking to understand the world chose this mountain as the place to begin." Zhongnan Mountain rises along the Qinling Range to more than 8,000 feet, positioned above an ancient tectonic boundary that once marked the physical division between northern and southern China. Its granite ridgelines climb sharply, and its deeply carved valleys form a labyrinth of terrain that has resisted easy access for millennia. That isolation is precisely what drew Taoist practitioners here across centuries, a mountain remote enough to allow the kind of interior silence that insight requires. For more than 2,000 years, hermits, scholars, and monks have come to Zhongnan to live in the folds of the mountain, some still resident in the same tradition today. Across the summits and cliffside terraces, dozens of temples cling to the rock, above valleys dropping thousands of feet below structures built stone by stone, in positions that seem to ask more of the human spirit than of engineering logic. In Zhongnan, extreme terrain, deep spiritual history, and architecture built against the logic of gravity come together into something that moves beyond the category of natural landscape, one of the most mysterious and most genuinely surreal mountain environments in all of China. Nature here did not shape the mountain through slow accumulation, but through rupture and force, as if the earth itself once broke open and left behind a record of that moment in stone. Jianglang Mountain in eastern China presents one of the most geometrically dramatic geological formations in the country, three enormous sandstone columns rising side by side from the valley floor, each one climbing more than 300 meters into the sky. These great walls of stone were formed over tens of millions of years as ancient sandstone layers cracked, shifted, and thrust upward through tectonic movement, leaving behind sheer blade-like ridgelines whose near-vertical surfaces appear almost polished in their smoothness, a silhouette of almost implausible slenderness when seen from below. Visitors approach along winding trails that track the contours of the mountain slopes, and as altitude increases, the three pillars reveal themselves from new angles, sunlight tracing across their rock faces to illuminate the layered marine sediments deposited there long before this land was land at all. The further the path goes, the more dramatic the geometry becomes, sheer drops falling away on one side, great walls of stone rising on the other, and overhanging viewpoints projecting out above the forested gorge below. Jianglang Mountain is a place where wonder and a particular brand of vertigo occupy the same moment, where geological time is displayed on a stage of extraordinary scale and where each step conveys the sensation of walking across one of the planet's oldest and most striking structures. Long before the first step is taken, the path already narrows into something that feels less like a trail and more like a decision. Huashan in Shanxi province is one of China's most demanding ascents, and its reputation is not exaggerated. This granite massif, formed through tens of millions of years of tectonic uplift, presents a landscape of sheer rock faces and near-vertical terrain that asks something profound of everyone who approaches it. What draws most visitors to Huashan is a specific stretch of trail along the cliff face, where climbers move across wooden planks barely wider than an outstretched hand, their bodies attached to steel safety cables fixed directly into the stone. In certain sections, even the planks disappear entirely, replaced only by shallow footholds cut into the ancient rock, requiring climbers to press themselves flat against the cliff and move with absolute deliberateness from one step to the next. Below the mountain drops away into gorges that plunge for kilometers, and winds channeled through the valley strike without warning, testing balance, endurance, and concentration simultaneously. Modern safety equipment is in place, yet every footfall remains a negotiation with gravity, and thousands of people accept that negotiation each year, spending hours traversing narrow ledges, vertical ladders, and exposed stairways that together form one of the most intense mountain experiences on Earth. Yet Huashan is more than tension and exposure. Between its 5 legendary peaks, seas of cloud drift without anchor, and the vast panorama that opens above them carries the deep cultural and spiritual history this mountain has held for centuries. What makes Huashan singular is the confrontation it demands, the moment when a person stands before a great wall of stone with little more than their own nerve and a cable between themselves and the open air. Here, ascent is no longer measured by steps, but by the quiet surrender to a machine that lifts you into the heights. Lingshan in eastern China presents a remarkable meeting of ancient geological time and modern engineering ambition. Granite cliffs formed across tens of millions of years of tectonic pressure rising without interruption, once making the summit nearly unreachable. Today, a construction project of extraordinary scale has changed that. Running the full length of the cliff face is the world's longest escalator system, a structure that carries visitors from forested lower slopes to cloud-level altitude without a single step of effort. Divided into multiple sections and anchored into solid bedrock deep within the rock face, the system required helicopters, large cranes, and precise geological surveys to install. Engineers analyzed fault lines and rock stability with extreme care, and some days the crews could complete only a few meters of progress against the constraints of strong wind and limited working space. For visitors, the ascent feels unlike anything else on offer in the natural world. Step onto the moving stair, and the valley below begins to fall away in silence. Hundreds of meters gained within minutes, thin mist drifting slowly through the gorge beneath you. The system replaces the long physical labor of traditional hiking while preserving the sense of exposure and suspension that makes cliffside travel so absorbing, the feeling of moving through open air along the edge of something immense. Where accessibility, altitude, and spectacle converge in a single place, Lingshan stands as one of China's most surreal landscapes, a space where human engineering has found a way to coexist with geological grandeur without diminishing either. It feels less like a mountain that has been shaped by time and more like a landscape that was first conceived in imagination before being slowly written into stone over millions of years. Located in eastern China, Huangshan emerged through 140 million years of tectonic uplift to become one of the world's most distinctive granite landscapes. Its legendary forest of peaks, shaped by wind, rain, and the repeated expansion and contraction of freezing water working inside the stone itself. Geologists explain the distinctive shapes as the result of exfoliation, a process in which the outer layers of granite peel away progressively over time, producing smooth domed forms, sharp spires, and precariously balanced rock structures that appear to defy any reasonable expectation of stability. For those who climb it, Huangshan presents more than 60,000 stone steps across its entire surface, many of them cut directly into cliff faces by hand in centuries past. Narrow paths along vertical walls leave room for a single person and a railing, and nothing else between the walker and the open air below. As altitude accumulates, the landscape transforms. Continuously twisted pines grow from cliff crevices in forms shaped by decades of wind mist, rises in columns that curl around ridges and dissolve, and when the view opens completely, an endless succession of cliff terrain unfolds toward the horizon without pause. Taishan does not ask to be appreciated. It simply waits, as it has waited for billions of years, for those who are prepared to understand it. Among China's most extraordinary natural and sacred sites, Taishan combines geological formation history and deep spiritual significance into one of the most layered mountain experiences in the world. Its massive granite body, shaped across roughly 2.5 billion years, rises more than 1,500 meters above the plain below, creating a landscape of steep ridgelines and ancient stone stairways that have drawn pilgrims and emperors for over 2,000 years. Visitors today follow the legendary ascent route, thousands of steps, and a celebrated final climbing section leading to temples positioned on narrow mountain terraces. Along the way, pilgrims pass ceremonial gates, cliffside pavilions, and imperial inscriptions carved into rock, the tangible evidence that China's emperors once climbed this sacred peak to pray for the peace and prosperity of the nation. Near the summit ridge, the Bixia temple has stood for more than 1,000 years, anchored to the mountain's spine like a sanctuary suspended between cloud and stone. The physical cost of arrival is real thin air, vertiginous drops, and winding stone paths that test the resolve of every visitor. But when the light of early dawn sweeps across the mountain, spreading like molten gold across everything below, the reason Taishan has been called one of the most spiritually charged places on Earth becomes for a moment impossible to argue with. A mountain built from an ancient sea, transformed across 2,000 years into a place of sacred ascent. Mount Emi rises from the Sichuan Basin in a massif shaped by the enormous tectonic forces at the eastern edge of the Tibetan Plateau. For geologists, this mountain is a living record. Its sandstone layers preserve the fossils of ancient marine life, evidence that this land was once submerged beneath a warm and shallow sea. Sheer cliffs plunge thousands of feet into deeply green valleys below, the full weight of erosion and time visible in every exposed face of stone. Yet the significance of Emi extends far beyond its geological record. It is one of China's 4 great Buddhist sacred mountains, a site of unbroken pilgrimage for approximately 2,000 years. More than 30 temples are positioned across its ridgelines and cliffside terraces, their placement still eliciting wonder. Among them, the Wanyan Temple, standing for over 1,400 years, houses a bronze bodhisattva of exceptional artistic and religious significance. Higher still, at the golden summit, a 10-faced golden Buddha figure, nearly 100 feet tall, emerges above the clouds, visible for many miles in any direction, its presence commanding the sky. The path to this elevated world is long and demanding. Tens of thousands of stone steps follow the mountain's steep gradients through subtropical forest, alpine scrub, and finally into the wind, ice, and dense mist of the upper elevations. On rare, clear mornings, Ime reveals one of its most mysterious phenomena, a complete circular rainbow, known as the Buddha's light, formed when sunlight refracts through cloud particles and surrounds the viewer's own shadow in a ring of color. Geological depth, religious sublimity, extreme terrain, and monumental art share this mountain without contradiction, and the result is not a mountain so much as a world balanced between earth and sky. It does not wait to be discovered. It stands already complete, as if the earth shaped it specifically to measure the scale of everything around it. Jade Dragon Snow Mountain rises above Yunnan province like a frozen crown, its 13 sharp summits commanding the horizon with an authority that has no need for words. The highest peak exceeds 5,500 meters, its ridgelines, shaped by tens of thousands of years of glacial movement into forms of precise and almost architectural beauty, the ice-covered slopes catching sunlight in a continuous cycle of accumulation and erosion. Visitors begin their ascent along stairways installed across the snow-covered slopes, gaining hundreds of meters in stages as the air progressively thins, a fact the lungs register before the mind fully acknowledges it. Oxygen replenishment stations along the route allow pauses for recovery before the climb continues. The path leads toward one of the mountain's most celebrated vistas, Blue Moon Valley, where mineral-rich meltwater has pooled into a series of lakes that shift color with the light turquoise to jade to deep indigo, each one a different answer to the same question of what glacial water looks like when it has traveled far enough. Higher still observation platforms perched above cliffs, shaped by repeated freezing and thawing, offer a view of hanging glaciers that stream down the mountain face like frozen rivers, motionless in appearance, yet in constant, imperceptible motion. In the valleys below, the Naxi people have built their culture in the presence of this mountain for generations and have long regarded it as the dwelling place of a sacred protector. Jade Dragon Snow Mountain is a fortress of the natural world, a source of reverence, and a place where ice altitude and mythological significance converge to to test the patience and humility of all who come to stand before it. Standing beneath Gonga Mountain, you do not simply feel small, you feel the correct size for the first time. Known as the King of Sichuan, Gonga rises to more than 7,500 meters above the southwestern plateau, the highest peak east of the Himalayas, a giant formed through more than 2 million years of tectonic uplift, its granite walls climbing at near vertical angles to a summit that generates its own weather systems by sheer scale alone. What makes Gonga most surreal is not its height, but the glacial world that coats it. More than 30 active glaciers flow down its slopes, some of them stretching for kilometers, and within the fractured ice, low reverberations echo outward as ancient sections formed before human civilization began to detach and fall. When winter arrives, storms overwhelm the entire massif. Winds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour sweep the ridgelines, and the terrain above accumulates layers of frost and wind-sculpted ice that transform the upper mountain into a structure unlike anything found at lower altitudes. For those who travel here on foot, the approach is a sequence of revelations, narrow paths, tracing cliff edges, wooden walkways, and rock scrambles that gain thousands of meters of altitude in a single day. Every turn produces a new landscape, emerald forest giving way to silver ice fields, quiet river valleys opening suddenly into enormous walls of snow. And at dawn, when the first light touches the summit, the peak ignites in gold. And for a moment, the mountain appears not as stone and ice, but as something the earth itself has set on fire. There are places that seem uninhabitable, places meant to remind us that nature always knows how to surpass all imagination. Vongtin Valley is one of the very few places where the boundary between reality and legend becomes blurred. Nestled amidst the mountains of Jiangxi province, this valley is surrounded by sheer cliffs formed over tens of millions of years of geological activity. These rock walls, over 100 meters high, rise straight into the sky, equivalent to the height of a 30-story building. while cascading white waterfalls relentlessly erode the mountain rock with each rainy season. As night falls, hundreds of wooden houses perched on the cliffs simultaneously light up, like stars trapped halfway up the mountain. Stone bridges spanning the deep gorges connect the clusters of structures, making the entire valley resemble a floating city straight out of an ancient ink painting. Locals tell stories that this place was once a retreat for immortals to practice their spiritual discipline, and on foggy mornings, the figures glimpsing the mountaintop could be just clouds, or perhaps visitors who have never left the valley. Tourists follow the paths along the cliffside, listening to the sound of water flowing through the gorges, then sit by small tea houses and watch the lights reflect on the stream like slow-moving Milky Ways at their feet. And as the last wisp of mist closed the entrance to the valley, no one could be sure whether they had just left a destination or emerged from an unfinished dream. There are places that seem to exist solely to defy the laws of nature. In the midst of an endless sea of sand, how could a single drop of water survive for over 2 millennia? Crescent Lake, located in the Gobi Desert near Dunhuang, has existed continuously for over 2,000 years, despite the arid climate and constantly shifting sand dunes. The lake, approximately 240 meters long, is as small as a leaf in a vast ocean of golden sand, yet its freshwater source has never disappeared, sustaining life in a place where annual rainfall is only a few dozen millimeters. From above, the lake's surface curves softly like a crescent moon that has just fallen into the desert. Whenever the wind rises, the sand dunes roll into golden waves surrounding the deep blue water, creating a scene as if time is trying to swallow a remaining fragment of the sky. Ancient people believed the lake was a gift from the gods to the caravans traveling on the Silk Road. Legend also says that anyone who loses hope amidst the vast expanse of sand will find their way back when the first moonlight reflects on this water. Today, travelers ride camels across the high sand dunes, listening to the tinkling of bells in the wind before touching the water that has saved countless merchants for centuries. As dusk falls, the shadows of people and camels stretch across the sand, recreating the journey of caravans that never truly ended. And when night falls over the desert, is the lake reflecting the sky, or is it holding the memories of those who never left the Silk Road? Over 2,000 years ago, when the Silk Road began connecting the East and the West, Crescent Lake became the most precious stopover point in the harsh Gobi Desert. From the Han dynasty onwards, merchant caravans, envoys, and travelers had to cross hundreds of kilometers of sand, where a source of fresh water was as valuable as gold. Through countless wars, sandstorms, and dynastic changes, the crescent-shaped lake silently remained as an unchanging landmark on the more than 6,400-kilometer trade route. This enduring presence transformed Crescent Lake from a survival oasis into an immortal symbol of the Silk Road, where history, nature, and the memories of thousands of caravans quietly intertwined with every ripple of the waves. For over 2 millennia, empires have risen and fallen, and trade routes that once changed the world have faded into the past. Yet, amidst the ever-shifting sands, Crescent Lake quietly retains a small patch of green, as if time had inadvertently forgotten this place. Perhaps the greatest miracle lies not in the fact that a lake exists in the desert, but in its continued storytelling of nature's resilience and the footsteps of humanity throughout thousands of years of history. And as the last winds of the day erase all footprints in the sand, only the tranquil surface of the water knows how many dreams have begun and how many journeys still await their continuation. There are houses built not only to provide shelter from the rain and sun, but also to protect an entire family lineage through generations. Have you ever wondered how a structure could be both a fortress, a home, and a symbol of unity? The Huayuan Tower, standing majestically amidst the mountains of Fujian Province, was built in 1909 in the famous Hakka style. This circular structure has a diameter of nearly 74 meters, roughly the size of a large football field, with 4 floors surrounding a central courtyard like a closed wall. The rammed earth walls, nearly 2 meters thick, were tightly packed with earth, sand, stone, and bamboo, creating a defense strong enough to withstand the test of time and the vicissitudes of nature. Viewed from above, the Huayuan Tower resembles a giant coin placed in a green valley, while the central courtyard is like a heart silently nurturing the entire community. Hundreds of wooden windows arranged in concentric circles make the entire structure look like a giant clock, silently counting the generations that have passed through this place. The Hakka people believe that the circular shape of the earthen house symbolizes completeness and can ward off evil spirits, protecting descendants from misfortune. Some also believe that each clod of earth in the wall holds the blessings of peace from the first people who laid the foundation for the house. Today, visitors step through the thick wooden gate, touch the century-old walls, and listen to the echoing footsteps in the courtyard, where generations have eaten, studied, and celebrated traditional festivals together. The scent of old wood, the sound of children playing, and the sunlight falling on the courtyard seem to slow down time with every breath. And when the large gate closes behind them. Is the Huai Tower protecting those inside, or is it preserving stories that time is not yet ready to reveal? Some structures are built to withstand the test of time, while others are created to unite an entire community across generations. What allows a village nestled in the mountains to endure for hundreds of years with its soul almost unchanged? Amidst the towering mountains of Fujian, the Tulu Tianla Khan complex was built in the 16th century and has continued to expand for over 600 years. 5 massive earthen buildings sit in the valley, forming a unique layout of 4 circles surrounding a square, spread across the mountainside like a giant chessboard carved into the earth by nature. The nearly 2-meter-thick rammed earth walls remain resilient against storms, earthquakes, and the erosion of time. From above, the entire complex resembles 5 musical notes resonating amidst a sea of green bamboo forests and terraced rice fields. As the morning mist sweeps across the grey tiled roofs, the Tulu buildings appear like islands floating in an ocean of clouds, blurring the boundaries between architecture and nature. The Hakka people believe that the arrangement of 4 circles and 1 square symbolizes the balance between heaven and earth, bringing blessings to generations to come. Legend also says that this location was chosen by feng shui masters after years of searching to preserve the family's fortune. Today, visitors step through the ancient wooden gates, climb the wooden corridors surrounding the buildings, and listen to the sounds of life still echoing in the central courtyard as it has for centuries. Smoke from cooking fires drifts through the tiled roofs. Children play, and the scent of old, compacted earth makes each step feel like a journey back in time. And as the mist gradually envelops the valley, are these 5 Tulu buildings merely ancient houses, or are they silently guarding stories that have never been fully told? There are places where value isn't measured by the tallest buildings, but by the number of generations who have preserved a way of life together. What happens when an entire culture continues to breathe amidst the rhythm of the 21st century? Nestled among the mountains of Guizhou province, Xijiang Miao Village is the world's largest Miao village, with over 1,200 traditional wooden houses nestled against the mountainside. The terraced fields and valleys here have been built up over thousands of years, while the houses, stacked from the foot of the mountain to the summit, nearly 200 meters high, form a giant wooden wall stretching along the natural terrain. As night falls, tens of thousands of golden lights illuminate the mountainside simultaneously, covering it like a river of stars flowing upwards into the sky. The layers of black-tiled roofs make the village resemble a giant beehive skillfully woven by the hand of time amidst the green of the mountains. The Miao people believe that each mountain has its own spirit protecting the village, and that their ancestors still watch over their descendants through the echoing sound of the Miao flute in the valley. On misty mornings, the elders say that sometimes the sound doesn't just come from humans, but is also the response of the mountains and forests after hundreds of years of silence. Here, visitors don traditional silver-embroidered clothing, cross bridges weathered by wind and rain, enjoy welcome wine, and immerse themselves in the dances around the central square. The sound of the meow flute, the flowing stream, and the scent of old pine wood blend together, making each moment breathe the essence of a living culture, not just a preserved one. And as the last fire fades on the mountainside, are those lights illuminating a village or preserving the memory of an entire people who have never stopped telling their story? The history of Xizangmiao village began over 1,700 years ago, when the first Miao groups migrated to the mountains of Guizhou to escape war and find a place where they could preserve their identity. Using the rugged terrain as a natural defense, they built wooden houses along the mountain slopes, cultivated terraced fields, reclaimed valleys, and gradually formed a close-knit community spanning generations. Over time, hundreds, then over 1,000 houses covered the entire mountainside, transforming it into the world's largest Miao village and a center for preserving almost intact the Miao language, clothing, festivals, and traditional crafts. Through countless historical upheavals, Xizangmiao village has maintained its ancient way of life, like a living chronicle written in wood, stone, and the memories of countless generations of Miao people. Some structures are built to connect people, but others are built to separate worlds. Have you ever wondered how a single wall can tell the history of many empires using only bricks and stones? Straightening across the mountains, deserts, and plains of northern China, the Great Wall stretches over 21,000 kilometers, equivalent to the distance from Hanoi to New York and back. The first sections were built over 2,300 years ago, winding along the rugged mountain ranges as if nature itself supported this colossal structure. Millions of blocks of stone, brick, and rammed earth were transported by human power, creating a defensive system that lasted through many dynasties. From above, the wall meanders through the mountain peaks like a giant dragon sleeping amidst a sea of clouds. Each watchtower rising from the mountainside resembles a stone lighthouse, silently observing the winds that have blown through this land for thousands of years. Legend has it that the spirits of the builders still guard every brick of the ramparts. The story of Ming Jiang, whose weeping caused a section of the wall to collapse, is still passed down as a symbol of love, loss, and the price history has to pay. Today, visitors conquer the steep stone steps, where each step changes the perspective of the mountains stretching to the horizon. Standing on a watchtower in the cold wind, it's easy to imagine the soldiers of yesteryear gazing northward, awaiting the first signal from the border. And as the setting sun casts its long shadow across the endless mountain ranges, does this structure divide the past and present, or connect them with stories that never truly end? The history of the Great Wall of China began around the 7th century BC, when the vassal states in northern China erected their own walls to defend against external attacks. By 221 BC, after unifying the country, Qin Shi Huang ordered the joining of many disparate sections of the wall, laying the foundation for the largest defensive structure in human history. For over 2,000 years afterward, dynasties such as the Han and especially the Ming continued to expand, reinforce, and build new sections using bricks, stones, and millions of cubic meters of rammed earth, creating the system of ramparts that now stretches over 21,000 kilometers. Every brick, every watchtower, and every section of wall bears the mark of the efforts of countless soldiers, craftsmen, and laborers, transforming the Great Wall not only into a military structure, but also into a stone epic about the will, sacrifice, and aspirations to protect a civilization throughout millennia. Over 2,000 years have passed, and the dynasties that built and guarded the Great Wall have all become history. Yet the wall still silently stretches across the mountains like a witness that has never slept. It has witnessed cavalry charge, signal fires blazed in the night, and winters blanketing each ancient brick with white snow. What makes this structure endure is not only the millions of stones stacked upon each other, but also the will of countless people who dedicated their lives to building and preserving it. Amidst the mountain winds that still blow through the solitary watchtowers, the Great Wall continues to stretch towards the horizon like an endless stream of stone memories. And as the sunset paints each section of the ancient wall red, is it closing a chapter of history, or is it silently waiting for the footsteps of those who will continue to write the unfinished story? Our journey of discovery comes to a close here. Thank you for taking the time to join us on this adventure through the structures, landscapes, and stories that have been preserved for centuries. If you enjoyed this video, we hope our next trips will continue to bring you many surprises and new perspectives on the world. Thank you for watching. We wish you safe travels, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode with another captivating destination.